Hi everyone. Hi everyone. So today we are going to review an introduction to the VI-SPDAT as well as the full SPDAT, just to give you a brief overview. Okay, so why do we use the SPDAT and VI-SPDAT? So right now these are the tools we use to function as a system to end homelessness. So we need a certain objective tool in order to determine the service we provide our clients. We needed to move away from a waiting list mentality to a priority list operation, which is what we have now. We need to move from just who's eligible to who needs the resource the most. We also need to move away from luck and first come, first serve. So, long time for shelter and housing. The first people to apply or the first people to show up were the ones that were getting the services. So we needed a tool that would follow the person or the family and not make that person or family have to retell their story over and over and over. So having a score from the VI as a recommendation and having their full SPDAT score allows us to have a greater picture of what's actually going on in their lives without them having to reiterate it over and over to different people. One score means one thing across the board for all providers. Okay. And so this is kind of like a funnel of homeless services. So you see all the people at the top. All of these people are going to be funneled through an assessment, given an acuity, and then determined through that assessment if they're higher acuity, like permanent supportive housing, moderate acuity, or lower acuity. So the people that just need light touch, simple phone call, simple connections can be put through diversion and given minor services and will prevent their homelessness altogether. Whereas these folks may be diverted even for a short period of time, but are more likely to return or become in need if they don't have higher intensity case management supports. So this just allows all of the people to come in one way with no other side entry, just one entry into a funnel, and the acuity determined through assessment will prioritize who should get what types of services first. Okay, so there's a few differences between the full SPDAT and the VI-SPDAT. First and foremost, the VI-SPDAT is only required by watching, the training for it is only watching a video and then just signing the VI-SPDAT policy in the RI-HMIS Coalition office. And the full SPDAT requires a full day's worth of training that is held by Crossroads, Rhode Island. Okay, so first, the VI-SPDAT and the full SPDAT are different, but they look at the same type of issues. The VI-SPDAT is meant to just be a triage tool, so not an assessment tool. It's just looking to confirm or deny the presence of more acute issues to see who can be triaged or who needs services now. However, the full SPDAT is an assessment tool. So after a person's been homeless and has had a VI-SPDAT done for at least 14 days or 2 weeks, giving them a chance to self-resolve, then the full SPDAT is an assessment tool that looks at the depth or nuances of an issue and the degree to which housing may be impacted by each different issue. So they're very different tools. The VI-SPDAT can take between 7 and 10 minutes, and the full SPDAT tool can take between an hour to a couple hours. Very in-depth. So the full SPDAT provides baseline acuity at time of assessment, and it measures the changes in the acuity over time. So before a client moves into housing, a full SPDAT should be completed. A full SPDAT should also be completed at move, and then after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, and so on, until the client is stably housed, no longer receiving assistance, in order to see what types of areas the case management may need to improve by providing a framework for their intervention. And it also helps indicate when housing may become unstable. So watching scores in different domains, which we'll look at, vary from higher to lower. It automatically in HMIS is graphed over time, but it also helps improve our system planning. So maybe a lot of our persons experiencing homelessness have a very low acuity in a certain area. Maybe for example, the landlords aren't engaged enough and don't understand the population we're working with. The more data we have, the more in-depth SPDATs that are completed, the better it will improve and inform our systems planning. Okay, so for example, in the full SPDAT, a question about daily planned activities would be answered like this. For having no planned legal activities, you'd score a 3 if they have some, like discussing, exploring, preparing for activities. 2 if they're attempting to re-engage with activities, and then down to 0. In the VI-SPDAT, it just asks a simple yes/no question. Do you have any planned activities other than just surviving that make you feel happy and fulfilled? Yes, no, or refused. So there's a very big difference in the type of question, because in the VI-SPDAT, I really don't want any details. I just want yes or no. And this is all client reported. We don't ever want to coerce the client into answering a certain way. So if they feel as if they do have planned activities, it may not be until you get to the full SPDAT that they realize they may not have actual activities that make them feel happy and fulfilled. So this is one of the reasons why doing the full SPDAT is extremely important. Okay, just quick brief history of the VI-SPDAT. So the VI-SPDAT was built on the research of Drs. O'Connell and Wong regarding medical vulnerability and the risk of mortality with homeless populations. It was first made popular through Common Ground and then 100,000 Homes campaign, and it's still in place in more than 200 communities participating in the 100,000 Homes campaign. The full SPDAT, the Service Prioritization Decision Assistance Tool, was built on review of 13 existing tools, client interviews, case manager interviews, academic panel, and 300 published journal articles, plus other government reports and tools. It was made popular through coordinated access and common assessment approaches for Housing First programs, and it's currently in place over 130 communities focused on prioritization for Housing First and rapid rehousing programs. The VI, it has a primary concern around medical vulnerability or risk of morbidity amongst chronically homeless persons. It's also administered primarily as a survey, often through street-based registry weeks. So a lot of communities don't have a lot of shelters that they can just walk into or a coordinated entry line that they can call. So they'll have registry weeks where they set up a van and advertise that they can go there for a VI. It doesn't prioritize. It should not be used for prioritization, especially for those who need moderate intervention. And it doesn't have a version specifically for families. So it does now. That is not correct. It does have a version specifically for families. I will edit that out. The full SPDAT, medical vulnerability is an element, but considered along with other proven risk factors. It's administered primarily as an assessment program for intake to support and housing program. It's designed to prioritize for all types of housing interventions, including when no intervention is recommended. And there is a version specifically for families. So we combined the VI with the SPDAT in early 2013. The VI elements meshed with other SPDAT pre-screen components. The survey was first tested in California, Louisiana, Michigan, and Alberta in May and June of 2013. And the first draft was released at a New England National Alliance to End Homelessness conference. Further testing and revised with amended tool was released in October 2013. The release of version 2 was in May 2015 after extensive testing, and version 3 is currently being developed. Okay, so I mentioned domains earlier. I'm just going to go through them quickly. So both the VI-SPDAT and the full SPDAT have questions based on specific areas in persons' lives, and those are considered domains. So we have these 5 domains. We have wellness, risks, socialization and daily functions, history of housing, and then there's a separate domain for family called the family unit. So within wellness, we look at mental health and wellness and cognitive functioning, physical health and wellness, substance usage, medication, and the experience of abuse and trauma. Within the risks, we look at harm to self or others, involvement in high risk or exploitive situations, their ability or history with managing tenancy, any legal issues, as well as interactions with emergency services. Within socialization and daily functions, we look at social relations and networks, meaningful daily activities, personal administration and money management, and self-care and daily living skills. And then the history of housing and homelessness is just that. They look at how long and how many times has this person been homeless. And then the family unit has these extra 5 domains within it. It's on parental engagement, the size of the family, the needs of the children, the stability and resiliency of the family unit, and the involvement with children's services or family court. Okay, and so those were the different domains that are both in the VI-SPDAT and in the full SPDAT. You're going to see after we review the script and everything, how it looks in the VI-SPDAT. So first, the VI-SPDAT, we have an opening script, which we're going to look at in the next slide, but it must include the following information, which it does. It is just important that these are included, which is why the script that we're going to look at next is the way it is. So it must include the name of the person given the assessment as well as their affiliation. So who are they employed with? Are they a volunteer? Where are they coming from? The purpose of the VI-SPDAT, that it usually takes less than 7 minutes to complete, that only yes, no, or one-word answers are being sought, that any question can be skipped or refused, where the information is going to be stored. If the participant does not understand the question or the assessor does not understand the question, that clarification can be provided, and the importance of relaying accurate information to the assessor and not feeling that there is a correct or preferred answer that they need to provide, nor information they need to conceal. We want to always emphasize honesty. The only way we could do that is by building quick rapport with our clients, building their trust in what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we want to follow the same script, which you're going to look at, so we're all on the same page. So regardless if the client calls coordinated entry or runs into a street outreach worker, that they're getting the same information. So anyone conducting a VI-SPDAT within our COC is required to use this script. So it may be helpful to write down or print out, but it is also included in our VI-SPDAT policy and also on our website. So it should be like this, and I will use my name and my information for this. So my name is Shalissa Coutoulakis, and I am the interim HMIS administrator here at the Rhode Island Coalition for the Homeless. The short survey we are about to do together is important in determining how we can go about supporting and housing you. This survey usually takes about 10 minutes to complete and only asks yes, no, and one-word questions. So there's no need to get into detail with any of the answers. I'll be honest, some questions are personal, but it is important to know that the more honest you are with your answers, the better it will assist you in the long run. You are not required to answer anything you feel uncomfortable with, and there is no right or wrong answer. Your answers will be held confidentially in HMIS and accessible to only those involved in your housing plan. If you need help understanding anything, just let me know. Again, the more honest you are, the more it will help you sustain support and housing that fits your needs. Now, as you see, this script is very important. You could wordsmith a couple of things, but you really truly want to emphasize the fact that you don't want any personal information, just yes, no, one-word answers. There will be times where clients try to get into details, but just explain to them that there'll be another assessment further down the line if they're having, if they want to talk about it, or you can schedule a case management appointment. But do not use the VI-SPDAT as a case management session, and just try to seriously get the answers from your client. Don't try to coerce or convince them to answer questions a certain way. If they need help understanding a question, that is okay. You just don't want to convince them that they should answer a certain way for any reason. Okay? So there's different populations, so we have all different tools. We have a VI-SPDAT for single adults, a SPDAT for single adults. So the VI is done right when persons become homeless, SPDAT after 14 days, and then in housing and after that. There's a family VI-SPDAT, and then there's a full family SPDAT. There's a TAY VI-SPDAT, and this is already in HMIS up to for any youth up to age 24. So up to age 25 and above would be the VI-SPDAT. Anyone 24 and under should be getting the TAY SPDAT. The full TAY SPDAT should be coming to HMIS soon, as well as the Justice Discharge VI and the full SPDAT. Hopefully, those are coming soon as well. There are no release dates for any of those, but all tools, although they score a little differently, like the family have a little bit more questions, the ranges are the same. So regardless of if I scored a 3 on a VI-SPDAT or if I scored a 3 on a TAY-SPDAT, it's the same thing. Families are a little different because the score's a little higher, but they all communicate with one another. They all have the same 3 ranges of no housing intervention, rapid rehousing recommendation, or housing first recommendation, or permanent supportive housing. Okay, so to go over the VI-SPDAT, first it'll ask you, if you're doing the paper form, it's going to ask you your name, agency, survey date, time, and location. If not, you just open it in HMIS and you can do it there. It asks for their basic information, their age, first name, nickname. This would be considered the alias. If you are putting this in HMIS afterwards, please enter that. And what language do you feel best to express yourself? So we are required to provide interpreters when necessary. So make sure you speak to your organization if you're not sure about that policy. Their date of birth, their age, social security number, and consent to participate. So you want to make sure they consent. They automatically get a point for being over 60, but you don't need to worry about scoring because once you put this into HMIS, the system will score it for you. Okay, and then it asks, where do you sleep most frequently? This is going to be answered by the head of household or by the individual you're asking. So it would be shelters, transitional housing, safe havens. So there are no safe havens in Rhode Island unless it was out of state, then you wouldn't select safe haven, outdoors, other, or if they refused. And then number 2 is, how long has it been since you lived in permanent, stable housing? And 3 is, in the last 3 years, how many times have you been homeless? All right. So for risks, we look at numbers. So in the last 6 months, they ask these questions. On the computer, when you're putting it in HMIS, it says 1 through 10, and then it says greater than 10. So you want to remember, for families, this is for the individual and anyone in their family, or for individuals and youth, it's just for that one person. So in the last 6 months, how many times have you received healthcare in an emergency department or emergency room, taken an ambulance to the hospital, been hospitalized as an inpatient, used a crisis service including sexual assault crisis, mental health crisis, family intimate violence, distress centers, and suicide prevention hotlines, talked to police because you witnessed a crime, were the victim of a crime, or the alleged perpetrator of a crime, or because the police told you that you must move along. And how many times have you stayed 1 or more nights in a holding cell, jail, or prison, whether that was a short-term stay like drunk tank, or a longer stay for more serious offense, or anything in between? So those are all number questions. They want to look back 6 months, so you want to help them. If we are in January, you want to make sure that you say, okay, so since July, since like the end of July, early August, so since it was last hot outside, or after summer, how many times have you, however you want to word it, you could say since the fall began, or since, I can't think of a holiday in August, but you want to kind of put a time frame to it to help your clients remember 6 months back. Okay, and then we want to look at number 5 is, have you been attacked or beaten up since you've become homeless? And 6 is, have you threatened to or tried to harm yourself or anyone else in the last year? Again, just yes or no questions, no details. Okay, then we ask, do you have any legal stuff going on right now that may result in being locked up, paying fines, or may make it more difficult to rent a place to live? Yes or no. Does anybody force or trick you to do things you do not want to do? Do you ever do things that may be considered to be risky, like exchange sex for money, run drugs for someone, have unprotected sex with someone you don't know, share a needle, or anything like that? Again, just yes or no. Some of these questions are personal and can feel awkward to ask, but build that rapport right away. Let them know some of the questions are going to be hard, just like in the script. Let them know the importance of the honesty and the importance that they understand that no one is going to be looking at them by their answer to this question, that they just need to be honest so we can best support them. When we look at socialization and daily function, we look at, is there any person, past landlord, business, bookie, dealer, or government group like the IRS that thinks you owe them money? So does anyone think that they owe them money? 11 is, do you get any money from the government, a pension, an inheritance, working under the table, a regular job, or anything like that? Now, you may already know that the client works, and you just want to select yes. Please do not do that. Please ask this question and answer it. Never, ever just answer a question without your client knowing that you're answering it. Okay? Do you have any planned activities other than just surviving that make you feel happy and fulfilled? Now, they have to determine what type of planned activities makes them feel happy and fulfilled. You do not help them answer, you just help clarify something that they do that makes them feel happy and fulfilled. Are you currently able to take care of basic needs like bathing, changing clothes, using a restroom, getting food and clean water, and other things like that? And that's the self-care question. Is your current homelessness in any way caused by a relationship that broke down, an unhealthy or abusive relationship, or because family or friends caused you to become evicted? Again, just yes or no question. This is going to help answer social relationships. For wellness, have you ever had to leave an apartment, shelter program, or other place you were staying because of your physical health? Do you have any chronic health issues with your liver, kidneys, stomach, lungs, or heart? If there was a space available in a program that specifically assists people that live with HIV or AIDS, would that be of interest to you? So this is not asking if they don't mind staying with people that have HIV or AIDS. It's a way to see if the client may or may not have HIV or AIDS without directly asking it. And you don't want to ask it, please, not at this point. That's more of when it comes time for disability verification for housing, if they wanted to disclose that. Do you have any physical disabilities that would limit the type of housing you could access or would make it hard to live independently because you'd need help? This is good to if your client, for example, was in a wheelchair and unable to get up to the 3rd or 4th floor without elevator access, or just make sure you help them understand what this means. When you are sick or not feeling well, do you avoid getting medical help? Yes or no? For female respondents only, so you want to be careful with this. You never want to judge anybody by the gender you believe them to be. So hopefully when you're getting their client profile information, you find out if they identify as female or if they're female. You want to ask if they're currently pregnant. And then these are all for physical health. Okay, has drinking or drug use led to you being kicked out of an apartment or program where you were in the past? Yes or no? Will drinking or drug use make it difficult for you to stay housed or afford your housing? Yes or no? And those are answers for substance use. Have you ever had trouble maintaining your housing or been kicked out of an apartment, shelter program, or other place you were staying because of a mental health issue or concern? Yes or no? Because of a past head injury? Yes or no? Because of a learning disability, developmental disability, or other impairment? Yes or no? And do you have any mental health or brain issues that would make it hard for you to live independently because you'd need help? Yes or no? Okay, and then those give you some answers for mental health. And then if you're scoring this on paper for trimorbidity and there was at least a 1 for each of these questions, then you'd put a 1 here. And for physical health on the previous slide. So if there was a 1 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here, then you'd have a 1 here. The computer automatically scores this if you put it in HMIS. Okay, are there any medications that a doctor said you should be taking that for whatever reason you are not taking? So maybe they can't fill their prescription, they can't pick it up, they just don't want to, they don't think they need to, whatever it is, yes or no. Are there any medicines like painkillers that you don't take the way the doctor prescribed or where you sell the medicine? Yes or no? And then that's for medications. And now this question for abuse or trauma. Please do not reword this, and it emphasizes yes or no. So please start this question with yes or no so your client knows that you do not want details, because this is a question that is worded the way it is as to not reinduce trauma in anyone that may have been traumatized by any of these in the past. So you want to say yes or no. Has your current period of homelessness been caused by an experience of emotional, physical, psychological, sexual, or other type of abuse, or by any other trauma you have experienced? Yes or no. Again, trauma can be defined many different ways by many different people. So literally just yes or no. You can word it slower, go piece by piece with them, but please do not try to explain what a traumatic event is to them. Okay, and then again, this would categorize it, and again, 0 to 3 would be no housing intervention, 4 to 7 for rapid, and then 8+ for permanent supportive housing. The HMIS scores this for you, so just stick your scores in there and you won't need to worry about this. There's follow-up questions on the paper forms that may help you contact them. This is not an HMIS. So things not to do. So don't change the questions. Don't change the order of the questions. Don't change the scoring. Don't complete it more than once. So unless there are major life changes, there's a VI-SPDAT replacement tool that you want to fill out if you feel as if you needed to redo a VI-SPDAT with a client in order for me at the Rhode Island Coalition for the Homeless to delete the older VI. It needs to be approved by your direct supervisor, and it must be due to a major life-changing circumstance. And remember, this is not at all a perfect tool. It is only meant to be a triage tool. Clients will find ways to beat the system. We just need to find ways to make sure that they're being as open and honest as possible, and that we're encouraging transparency in order to ensure reliability of this tool overall. Okay. So for HMIS support on managing VIs or anything to do with the full SPDAT and HMIS, you can contact me, Shalissa, at the Rhode Island Coalition for the Homeless. And there's my email right there. My phone number is also 401-721-5685, and I'm at extension 25. To sign up for a full SPDAT training, so they have them at least monthly, it seems, at Crossroads, Rhode Island. You want to contact Ben at BHAYNIE, Ben Haney, at crossroadsri.org. So it's just B Haney at crossroadsri.org. And his phone number is 401-521-2255, and that's extension 700. Okay? If you missed any of the phone numbers or you need more information, feel free to email either one of us and we'd be happy to help you. Thank you.